Good morning, students. How are you all? Okay, today we'll continue chapter number 2 from history, that is from trade to territory, part 2. In this we are going to concentrate on specially two aspects. One is subsidiary alliance and doctrine of lapse. These are the two methods plotted by the British to expand their territories in India, not by directly attacking. This is the indirect way of annexation. Come on, let us not waste our time and move to the topics.
Let's continue our chapter from trade to territory, part 2. Students, in our previous class we studied about how the British came to India as a small trading company and how they become successful in establishing their authority in India. We also studied about the Battle of Plassey. The historical battle happened in the year 1757 between the British forces under the leadership of Robert Clive as well as Sirajuddaula, the Nawab of Bengal. In that particular historical battle, the British, they were able to crush Sirajuddaula, and thereafterwards the company rule expands. Okay, today we will see more related to this topic. Company officials become nabobs. Nabob is a term equivalent to Nawab only. In Bengal, in Bengal accent, for V they pronounce it as B. For example, Ravindranath Tagore, and they pronounce it as Rabindranath Tagore. The same thing is here also. The company thus acquired more power and authority, especially after the Battle of Plassey. The company thus wanted to live like Nawabs. The whole company wanted to live like Nawab and thus forced the actual Nawabs to give land and vast sums of money to company officials. So they asked the Nawab to give more and more money, more and more gift to the company officials as well. Why? The company official, they also now wanted to live like Nawabs. This is how the company amassed means gathered huge amounts of wealth in India. Officials who managed to return with wealth began to lead a flashing lights and flaunted their riches were called nabobs. Now that means the last statement said the officials, those who were working here in India, they returned to England or to their home country with a huge wealth they acquired from India, and there they started leading like the life of a Nawab, and they were called as Nabobs there. They were simple, casual officers in India, but they earned huge wealth from India and they went with the wealth to England. There they led life like a Nawab and they were called as Nabobs there. Let's continue. Company rule expands. Between 1757 and 1857, the East India Company, instead of a direct military attack, used political, economic and diplomatic method to influence the state. Now we have to see that in this period, 1757 to 1857, the British did not attack on the Indian states. Direct attack was not there, but it used some tactics or indirect methods to attack and to influence the state. Let's see. Residents in Indian states were appointed after the Battle of Buxar in 1764. That means what? Wherever the British acquired their power in India, there they appointed the residents. Company also for states to agree a subsidiary alliance. This is very important. Introduced by Lord Wellesley, that is, they were to be protected by the company, but they had to pay for the subsidiary forces, and if they feared a part of their territory was taken away. Let me explain this. The subsidiary alliance, the term. Alliance means you can say agreement, a pact, okay, sauda, whatever you can say. Who introduced this? Lord Wellesley. What is this? It is an indirect method of annexing Indian territories. Indirectly you are annexing, कब्जा कर रहे हो, हाँ, डायरेक्ट नहीं कर रहे हो, अटैक नहीं कर रहे हो. It's an indirect method. And what is this policy alliance says? They says that they asked, this is an agreement, and हर एक इंडियंस के रूलर के साथ था, नवाब के साथ था, and they said that we will protect, the company will protect from internal as well as from external attack. Okay, the company will protect from the internal as well as from the external attack. And for that, what they are supposed to do? The people or the nawabs or the rulers or the princes, they were supposed to keep a part of the British army with them. They have to pay their salaries, they have to look into their food, and then supplying the food to their animals, etc. Simple thing is that the company says that we will protect you from internal as well as external attack from any ruler. Okay, for that what you need to do? आप हमारा एक सेना का टुकड़ा आपके पास रखिए. ओके, आपको कुछ नहीं करना, आपको फुल प्रोटेक्शन हम देते हैं. अगर कोई आपको अंदर से या बाहर से आपके कोई अटैक करेंगे, वी विल प्रोटेक्ट यू. इसके बदले आप हमारा एक सेना का टुकड़ा को रखो एंड उसका पूरा देखभाल आपको करना है. दैट इज सब्सिडियरी अलायंस. इफ द लास्ट वन, एंड इफ दे फियर्ड, अगर आप इसको एग्रीमेंट आने से फियर करते हो, देन अ पार्ट ऑफ योर टेरिटरी इज टेकन अवे. सबके साथ अलायंस करना है. ओके, सब नवाब के साथ और रूलर्स और प्रिंसेस के साथ दिस अलायंस वाज मेड. एंड इफ यू फियर, इफ यू हेजिटेटेड टू डू दैट, okay, you give a portion of your land to the British India. In this way, the British started acquiring the lands in India indirectly. That is called subsidiary alliance. And who introduced this? Lord Wellesley. Now the next one, Tipu Sultan, the tiger of Mysore. This Tipu Sultan was very aggressive against the British. He did not like the British here in India. Okay, and he was a staunch opponent, enemy for the British. Mysore grew powerful under the leadership of powerful leaders like Hyder Ali and his son Tipu Sultan. First one Hyder Ali, and after his death Tipu Sultan. Mysore, they were looking after the Mysore state. Mysore controlled the profitable trade of Malabar coast consisting of pepper and cardamom. Before the British arrival, this Mysore, it was controlling that pepper as well as cardamom trade, and it was very profitable on the Malabar coast. We studied about Malabar coast, Konkan coast, Coromandel coast, isn't it? So that Tipu Sultan stopped the export of sandalwood, pepper and cardamom from his ports and disallowed local merchants from trading with the company. He said that from my port nothing is exported to the European country. It may be sandalwood, pepper or cardamom. He stopped it from Mysore, or not from Mysore. Mysore is not a port. सो मलबार कोस्ट, मैंगलोर आता है उसमें, मलबार कोस्ट में, तो वहाँ से कुछ भी नहीं आएगा, यूरोपियन कंट्रीज में एक्सपोर्ट ना होगा. एंड ऑल्सो डिसअलाउड द लोकल मर्चेंट्स फ्रॉम ट्रेडिंग विद द कंपनी. सो no dealing with the local merchants with the company. If you wanted to sell your items, you sell it out individually, but not to the company merchants. He also modernized his army with the help of the French. Now Tipu Sultan, he is very clever, and he was of the opinion that one or the other day there would be war between the Tipu Sultan as well as the British power. So he thought to modernize his army with the help of the French. Because why? He now makes an agreement with the French, Tipu Sultan. Reason is that the French, they were the staunch enemies of the British. So Tipu Sultan took French help and he modernized his army. The company fought for 4 wars with Mysore from 1767 to 1799, famously known as Carnatic Wars. It is called as Anglo-Carnatic Wars. Anglo means British and Carnatic Wars. So 4 Anglo-Carnatic Wars between 1767 to 1799. In the last war, that is the Battle of Seringapattanam, it is now called as Srirangapattanam. The company ultimately won and Tipu Sultan was killed. In the last battle, ultimately the British were able to defeat Tipu Sultan as well as the Tipu Sultan. You can see the image of Tipu Sultan here. He is famously known as the Tiger of Mysore. Now, afterwards, war with the Marathas, and it is called as Anglo-Maratha Wars. Since the late 18th century, the company wanted to destroy the Maratha power. The Maratha, it's a big headache. Ultimately, first of all, there was Tipu Sultan, and after his death, now it's Maratha power. They were divided into many states under different chiefs belonging to the dynasties like Scindias, Holkar, Gaekwad and Bhonsle. And this Gaekwad, they were ruling the areas of this Baroda, Baruch, this area, that is Gaekwad. So, and Bhonsles, then Scindias, Holkar. So they are the different Maratha chiefs. They were together held together in an alliance under Peshwa, and all these Maratha chiefs were they were held together. They were different, but उनको एक joint बना के रखा था under the Peshwa. The Marathas were subdued in a series of wars. Subdued means defeated. इनको भी series of wars में Marathas they were defeated. The first war ended in 1782 with neither side winning. It is called as Anglo-Maratha Wars. The first Maratha war, there was a tie type. So neither side winning. The second Anglo-Maratha war resulted in the British gaining Orissa and the territories of North Yamuna, including Agra and Delhi. They were all probably might be under the control of the Marathas. Anyhow, after defeating the Marathas, the British were able to acquire these states. Simple statement that second Maratha war won by the British. The third Anglo-Maratha war crushed completely the Maratha power. So 3 ways. In the first, neither side winning. Second, the British becoming victorious. And third, completely crushing the Maratha power by the British. The company gained complete control over the territories of south of Vindhyas. You can see the Vindhya mountains, isn't it? Rajasthan. So, complete control over the territories of south of Vindhyas. Vindhyas ke south ka complete territory were under the control of now the British. Next one, the claim to paramountcy, that is supreme power. From the early 19th century, the company pursued an aggressive policy of territorial expansion. Aggressive means what? Do or die. कैसे भी करके कंपनी का पावर को, टेरिटरी को एक्सपांड करना. Under Lord Hastings, a new policy of paramountcy was initiated, which claimed that the authority of the company was supreme. What is this paramountcy? It is that the authority of the company is now supreme. It also said that in order to protect its interest, it was justified in annexing any Indian kingdom. So, agar in order to protect my own interest, that is British interest, they were justified in annexing any Indian kingdom. The policy was challenged. This policy of the British was challenged by Rani Chennamma of Kittur in Karnataka, though the struggle was carried on by Rayanna, a poor chowkidar in Kittur, after Rani's death in prison. So that part comes in history. Control over northwest India was maintained by British, fearing the Russian expansion in Asia. Here you can see the image of Lord Hastings. Now, after fighting a long war, the indirect company rule was imposed in Afghanistan. Now we are crossing the Indian boundaries. At present we can say, but at that time it was a part of India. Sindh was annexed in 1843. Then presence of Maharaja Ranjit Singh stopped British expansion in Punjab. They might have feared. Then it was after the death of Maharaja Ranjit Singh that Punjab was annexed after two prolonged मतलब बहुत लंबी चली prolonged wars. Now we are going to see the doctrine of lapse. It is very, 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 very important. So you can see here the picture of Lord Dalhousie. We will see more in detail. Lord Dalhousie, the next Governor General, devised this policy. इनको एक आइडिया लगा ऐसा करके ब्रिटिश टेरिटरी को एक्सपांड कर सकते हैं by introducing this policy, that is doctrine of lapse. What it says? It said that if any Indian ruler died without a male heir, if any Indian ruler he dies without a male child, heir means what? Successor. So अगर फैमिली का पूरा भी अगर संतान को वंश को कंटिन्यू कौन करता है? बेटा करता है. So ऐसे ही the British said that if any Indian ruler he dies without a male child, then his kingdom would lapse. collapse होता है या lapse होगा. See, lapse का word क्या है? Where we are using, say for example, sometimes you are saying that कि हमारा license lapse हो गया, तो license 10 years का होता है. So after 10 years you have to renew it, otherwise ये lapse होता है. Sometimes you are getting that facility. Okay, you have booked for a particular cinema show, film के लिए 6 o'clock का आपका show का booking है, and you are going with that ticket or with that this one at 9 o'clock, then that ticket is considered as lapse. हो गया वो तो टाइम पीरियड आपका रिमूव हो गया ना, गया, निकल गया. The same thing is that if you don't have a male child and the king dies, then उसका kingdom तो गया. कहाँ गया? It become a part of the company territory automatically. अगर किसी राजा को अगर male child नहीं है, that automatically that particular kingdom would be the part of the British authority or territory. By applying this statement or theory, the company acquire states like Satara, Udaipur, Nagpur, Jhansi were annexed by saying that you don't have the male child, so obviously your territory is now a part of British India. Awadh was annexed by saying that the misgovernment prevails there. So Awadh may be essay, but if you see in history, Awadh, it was very supported for the British initially in India, and later on even Awadh was also acquired by the British by saying that the government is not proper there, misgovernment prevails there. Now the Awadh people become so humiliated with this. Awadh people also joined the revolt 1857. So you can see here now the image of Lord Dalhousie, his theory, doctrine of lapse, and thereby the states acquired. Can you see here Satara, Sambhalpur, Udaipur, Nagpur as well as Jhansi. So the kingdom were included by applying this statement. Now we have seen two important aspects: indirect annexation, one through subsidiary alliance and one through doctrine of lapse. Now the subsidiary alliance says that the Indian ruler, any Indian ruler, he will be protected from internal as well as from external attack if he agrees to keep a portion of British force in their particular territory, and if he is feared to do so, a part of their territory would be annexed to the British territory. And here, if an Indian ruler dies without male child, his kingdom would lapse and it would become a part of the British. Now this is indirect annexation, diplomatically annecting, not directly attacking. This is all about the topic today. Especially we concentrated on subsidiary alliance as well as the doctrine of lapse. Please go through the video related to the topic. Then give your comment. Okay, and I'm waiting. Thank you. This one we will see later.
Britishers were not more than mere traders when they came to India. By 1600, they didn't even set the foot in India. Before 1757, they had no power in India, but by 1857, they controlled most of the Indian subcontinent and, to go along with it, carried out a lucrative trade of taking things from India and at low cost and making finished goods in England and selling them across the world at very higher prices. For this task of controlling Indian kingdoms and ruling major parts of the Indian subcontinent over them directly or indirectly was not just coincidence. In this video, we'll learn how the East India Company expanded its territory in the Indian subcontinent from being mere traders using certain policies. The company of traders and merchants had a handful of policies to apply on the native kingdoms to rule subsidiary alliance system and doctrine of lapse. These two systems proved really helpful to the British in expanding their territorial power in India. Subsidiary alliance system was an agreement between the native king and the East India Company. This system was introduced by Wellesley. According to this agreement, the native king will be protected against the attacks of the neighboring kingdoms by the East India Company army. The responsibility to protect the king and the kingdom 24/7 is of EICs. In return, the native king has to pay salaries to the East India Company army. He also should not wage a war or conclude a treaty of peace with any other native kingdom without the permission of East India Company. The foreign affairs of the native kingdom is to be managed by an officer of the East India Company stationed in the court of the native kingdom. Also, he is not supposed to employ any other European in his court other than the members of the East India Company. Indirectly, the power to manage things of importance were taken away by the East India Company from the native kings, whosoever signed the treaty. The king merely remained a puppet and only to pay salaries to the East India Company army. Slowly, the native kings, on the pretext of this treaty, were drained out of their wealth and of their power, and were pauperized finally. Kings which joined this policy and were victims of British tactics of expansion, to name a few, were the Nizam of Hyderabad, Mysore Raja Tipu Sultan, Nawab of Awadh, and many Maratha states also fell prey for this. The other policy which proved lethal and fatal to the East India Company power in India was doctrine of lapse. In India, earlier, if any king did not have a natural male heir to the throne, he would generally adopt someone and coronate him as the prince, who would later become king of that state. This is the norm in the native kingdoms of India, but according to this policy, if a king did not have male heir, that kingdom after the death of the king would fall into the hands of the EIC administration, and the adopted son cannot be a prince and has the right to rule in future is nullified. This policy was used by Governor Generals from 1834, but Dalhousie popularized it by occupying kingdoms extensively during his term as Governor General. This policy of Dalhousie's angered a lot of native kings and princes who became nobody after the death of their adopted fathers. This policy, unlike subsidiary alliance system, was not a mutual treaty between East India Company and the native kings. It was like a diktat which native kings and princes did not accept, yet they lost the kingdoms to the East India Company. Few kingdoms which fell prey to this policy were Jhansi, Nagpur, Satara, Udaipur, Orkot, and many others. And in other kingdoms, they plotted against the kings with their army commanders or cousins for treason, in an agreement that these treasurers, loyal ever so obedient to the royal Governor Generals of the East India Company, would be made as the Nawabs as a gift for their treason against the native kings. Also, in other kingdoms like that in the Punjab and Afghans, they did wage battles. That's how they were able to change the names of the rulers on the maps and cartograph the East India Company's name on the Indian subcontinent and etched a name for themselves in the history of India.